dark chosen ones, why God tests you at quantum level. It's a huge gift. Let me ask you the question nobody dares to ask aloud. What if your suffering isn't random? What if your pain, your failures, your isolation are not signs of being forgotten by God, but signs that you've been chosen? Not in the way the world romanticizes it, and not with golden crowns and angel wings, but in a darker, deeper, more sacred sense. A selection that happens not at the surface of your life, but at the quantum level, in the invisible layers of your being where reality is coded, where souls are weighed, and where contracts are written in energies, not ink. You see, there are people born into this world who carry a frequency that doesn't match the environment around them. They feel it early like a glitch in the system, like they were dropped into the wrong timeline. The rules don't make sense. The goals of society feel hollow. The conversations feel scripted. The institutions feel dead. And deep inside, they carry a knowing that they are here to do something massive, but they don't know what, or how, or when. These are the dark chosen ones, not chosen for comfort, not chosen for applause, chosen for transformation, chosen for trials, chosen to be burned down to the foundation of their soul so their true self can rise untouched by illusion.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
We've been lied to about what it means to be chosen. We were told it would feel beautiful, that it would bring peace, clarity, abundance. But the real choosing begins with destruction. The kind of destruction that strips away everything you thought you were. Your reputation, your relationships, your sense of security. Your mind might scream, "Why is this happening to me?" But your soul whispers, "It's happening for you." Because God doesn't test the comfortable. God tests the capable, not for punishment, but for activation. And that activation happens at the quantum level, where every ounce of your energy is scrutinized, purified, and restructured. You may not remember this, but before you were born, your soul agreed to this. You didn't come here for ease. You came here to alchemize shadows into light so others could follow your path. You came here to carry a frequency powerful enough to disrupt the matrix. And let me tell you something most spiritual teachers won't. When you are chosen at that level, your life will not make sense to those around you. They will misunderstand you. They will mock you. They will label you as too intense, too sensitive, too rebellious. But that's only because your energy is coded to a higher truth they haven't touched yet. And here's where it gets quantum. At the subatomic level, your thoughts, your emotions, even your wounds emit vibrations. The universe doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your signal. And when your signal begins to shift through pain, solitude, or inner work, you begin to bend reality around you. But before you can wield that power consciously, you're tested. Not by a cruel God, but by a divine intelligence that wants to make sure your frequency can handle the responsibility. It's not about passing or failing. It's about becoming stable enough to hold more truth without collapsing into ego or illusion. So when everything in your life starts to fall apart, when people leave, when you lose money, when your health wavers, when your dreams stall, it's not a punishment. It's a recalibration. Your outer world is being stripped to match the internal shift that's happening at a quantum level. You're being upgraded, but upgrades don't always look like blessings. Sometimes they look like breakdowns, like betrayal, like abandonment. That's the paradox of being a dark chosen one. You're being prepared for light by walking through the darkest corridors of existence. And the reason it feels so intense, so personal, is because the test is tailored to you, to your specific karmic blueprint, your ancestral lineage, your soul contract. Nothing is random. That heartbreak, it triggered a wound from 5 lifetimes ago. That job loss, it freed you from a matrix that was draining your spiritual currency. But that illness, it forced you to slow down so you could finally hear your own soul speak. And when you start to see life this way, everything shifts. You stop asking, why me? And you start asking, what am I being prepared for? Because here's the truth. If you are being tested at a quantum level, it means your future impact is beyond human comprehension. It means you're not here to play small games. You're here to rewrite codes, shatter illusions, awaken the sleepers. But you can't do that while still clinging to outdated versions of yourself. So God, in infinite wisdom, dismantles your illusion of control. Not to hurt you, but to free you. And the moment you start leaning into the pain not as a victim, but as an initiate, the test begins to shift. You start to see patterns. You start to feel your intuition rise above the noise. You start receiving downloads in dreams, chills during conversations, synchronicities that shake your spine. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. The veil is thinning. Your consciousness is expanding, and the universe is responding. But let me ask you something that will either liberate you or terrify you. What if your suffering is sacred? What if every tear, every dark night, every collapse was encoded with divine intelligence designed to awaken the sleeping codes within your DNA? Would you still run from it, or would you finally embrace it as the initiation it truly is? Because that's what this is, an initiation into a deeper spiritual maturity, into a higher level of consciousness, into a role that your soul volunteered for long before your body was formed. And yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's brutal. But it's also a gift. A gift wrapped in shadows, encoded in paradoxes, and delivered through pain. But a gift nonetheless. And if you're still here, still breathing, still questioning, still hoping, it means you've passed more tests than you realize. You've already survived initiations that would have broken others. You've already begun to unlock the ancient codes within your being. And now the real journey begins. The pain portal, how breakdowns unlock hidden intelligence in the soul. There's something most people never realize until everything falls apart. Your lowest moments are not a detour from your destiny, they are the very doorway into it. The pain isn't the enemy. The pain is the portal. And if you've been chosen at the quantum level, you'll find that your breakdowns are never just emotional, they're energetic initiations, but designed to unlock intelligence that logic alone could never reach. You see, pain carries a frequency that bypasses the ego. It cuts through pretense. It crashes through the walls we built to protect ourselves. And when it hits, it doesn't ask for permission. It floods your system. It makes you cry in grocery store parking lots. It makes you question everything you ever believed about safety, love, identity. And when you're in it, it feels like death. But what you don't see in that moment is the deeper alchemy at work. Because pain, real, soul-level pain, strips away the false self so that the true self can emerge. But you've probably felt it already. That moment when your heart broke so hard you thought you'd never recover. But then something strange happened. You saw the world differently. You became more sensitive to beauty, more aware of people's energy, more attuned to truth. That wasn't weakness. That was upgrading. Pain cracked you open so the light could get in. And not just any light, your light. The light you buried beneath years of conditioning, fear, and survival mode. The world tells us that breakdowns are failures, but spiritually, breakdowns are often the first sign of awakening. It's the soul screaming through the noise, saying, "Stop. You're not supposed to keep living like this. That job you hate, that relationship that drains you, that version of you that's always performing, all of it is collapsing because it was never aligned with your soul's blueprint. And the longer you cling to it, the more painful the unraveling becomes. But here's the secret that most people miss. The pain isn't punishing you. It's preparing you. Because when you're being tested at the quantum level, God isn't just watching how you handle success. God is watching how you handle the void, the silence, the uncertainty. That's where your real power is forged. That's where you stop reacting from fear and start responding from wisdom. That's where you stop asking for the fire to be put out and start realizing you were born to walk through it without burning. Because here's what's wild, the pain doesn't just hurt you, it activates you. It unlocks layers of perception that are dormant in comfort. It sharpens your discernment. It teaches you the language of energy. It forces you to listen to your intuition because nothing else makes sense anymore. And in that raw, broken state, you begin to hear what you couldn't hear before. You begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. That's why the pain portal is sacred. It's where the ego dies and the soul starts speaking. And its voice won't always be comforting. Sometimes it's blunt. Sometimes it's terrifying. It might ask you to leave everything familiar, and to walk away from people you love, to quit the job with benefits and jump into the unknown. And it won't always offer a plan, but what it does offer is truth. And truth, when followed, doesn't just set you free, it rewires your entire reality. Let me ask you something that could change your life. What if the version of you you're mourning was never real to begin with? What if the pain you're feeling isn't the loss of your potential, but the loss of your illusion? What if the breakdown isn't the end, but the initiation into your most powerful timeline? Because here's the truth most avoid, the soul doesn't evolve through comfort. It evolves through pressure, through friction, through transformation. And if you're being tested at a quantum level, it means your soul is on a trajectory that requires more strength, more clarity, more consciousness than the average person. You weren't built to live a normal life. You were designed to become a living bridge between dimensions, between the mundane and the miraculous. And to hold that role, you must first be emptied of everything that isn't real. So next time you find yourself in the dark, don't ask how to get out. Ask what the darkness is trying to give you. Because hidden in your pain is a sacred intelligence, a wisdom that can only be earned through fire. A vision that only comes when your eyes have cried enough to wash away the world's illusions. But you are not broken. You are becoming. And the pain? It's not your punishment. It's the portal. The code breaker, why you were born to disrupt the matrix of illusion. There comes a moment, usually after the pain has hollowed you out and the silence has taught you more than 1,000 books ever could, when you realize something outrageous is you were never meant to fit in. You were never meant to play by the rules. You weren't designed to blend into the background of this world, you were encoded to disrupt it. Not with rebellion for rebellion's sake, but but with the frequency of truth that dissolves illusion with every breath you take. You are a code breaker, and that's why your life has never been normal. Look around you. The world we live in is a matrix and energetic simulation made up of belief systems, emotional trauma loops, inherited thought patterns, and collective fear. From birth, we're programmed. We're told who to be, what to want, how to behave. We're taught to chase validation, to numb pain, to confuse success with soul fulfillment. And most people stay trapped in that matrix until the day they die, never once realizing that the prison they live in was never made of walls, it was made of unconscious agreements. But not you. You were born with a glitch in your programming, a subtle, sacred refusal to fully comply. Maybe you didn't have the language for it as a child, but you felt it. You questioned things others accepted. You noticed patterns others ignored. You felt the emptiness behind the smiles, the lies behind the polite conversations, the spiritual starvation behind the material wealth. And while others were busy climbing ladders, you were staring at the sky, wondering why none of it felt right. That's not dysfunction. That's design. You were built to see the cracks in the illusion so you could begin to tear it down, not for destruction, but for rebirth. You're not here to escape the matrix. You're here to rewrite it. But here's the truth most people can't handle. Breaking the code comes at a cost. You lose comfort. You lose certainty. You lose relationships that were only ever sustained by your compliance. You walk away from jobs, cities, even family, sometimes not because you're cold, but because your frequency simply no longer fits. And when that happens, you feel crazy. You feel lost. You wonder if you've made a mistake. But that's only because you're walking a path that hasn't been paved yet. You are the blueprint. You are the map. And the deeper you go, the more you start to see how everything is energy. Every thought is an algorithm. Every emotion is a frequency. Every belief is a piece of code running a script in your life. When you shift your beliefs, you don't just change your mind, you change your reality. You disrupt the matrix from the inside out. And that's why God tests you so intensely, not to crush you, but to train you, to refine your signal, to make sure that when you start breaking codes, you do it from love, not ego, from truth, not trauma. Because when a dark, chosen one awakens fully, they become dangerous to the systems built on lies, not with violence, not with anger, but with presence, with clarity, with a frequency so clean and coherent that it dissolves manipulation just by existing. That's your superpower, not to fight darkness, but to illuminate it, not to fix the broken system, but to reveal that it was never real to begin with. So let me ask you something that might shatter your current worldview. What if your weirdness isn't a flaw, but a language your soul speaks fluently? What if your inability to conform is your divine instruction manual? What if the chaos in your life wasn't evidence that you're failing, but evidence that you're disrupting the old code so something sacred can emerge? You are not here to be liked. You are here to be felt, to be remembered, to be unforgettable. You are here to awaken others just by living your truth boldly, unapologetically, and without compromise. And that's why it's so hard. Because you're not just breaking your own chains, you're breaking ancestral ones, collective ones, karmic ones. You're freeing not just yourself, but all those who will come after you. You are the code breaker, and your time is now. The light that survives the fire, the rise of the quantum alchemist. There is a light within you that cannot be extinguished. Not by betrayal, not by loss, not by the darkest night of your soul. That light is not your personality, your achievements, or your image. That light is your essence, your eternal self, forged in realms beyond time. And when you've walked through the fire, when you've been tested at the quantum level, and everything has been stripped away, that light is what remains. That is your true power. That is the core of the quantum alchemist you are becoming. You see, all of this, the breakdowns, the pain portals, the exile from the world you once knew, it was never about punishment. It was about purification, about refining you until only the real remained. And now, if you're still breathing through the smoke, still standing on the other side of the destruction, then you are ready. Ready not just to survive, but to transmute. Because that's what a quantum alchemist does. They don't run from the darkness. They absorb it, decode it, transform it into gold. They don't fear shadows, they understand them. They know that even the most chaotic energies carry intelligence, and that all of it can be restructured through conscious presence. This is not just mystical poetry, it is energetic science. At the quantum level, everything is vibration. Your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions, they are frequencies that interact with the field of reality. When you operate from fear, your signal becomes erratic. When you operate from trauma, your energy loops into the past. But when you begin to operate from love, not romantic love, but divine coherence, you become a tuning fork for miracles. You begin to shift timelines. You begin to bend probability. You don't just survive the storm, you direct the storm. But that mastery requires one final transformation. You must stop identifying with your wounds. You must stop mistaking your scars for your story. Yes, you've been through hell. Yes, the fire burned everything familiar. But the fire was never your enemy. It was your initiation. And now, the question is no longer, why did this happen to me? The question is, what power did this awaken in me that nothing else could? Because now you are not the same. You are lighter, but also heavier with wisdom. You are softer, but your boundaries are sharper. You speak less, but your words carry more voltage. You don't chase any more, you attract. You don't beg for clarity, you channel it. You've become the thing you were always searching for, whole, sovereign, and untamed. And your presence, your very existence, becomes medicine for others. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. People will feel it. They'll sense that you've touched something beyond the veil. That you've walked through dimensions and returned with codes they didn't even know existed. You won't speak the same language anymore because you're not here to speak, you're here to transmit. You're here to radiate. You're here to be the light that survives fire. Let me leave you with a question only your soul can answer. What would your life look like if you stopped hiding the parts of you that were forged in the flames? If you owned your darkness as fiercely as you embrace your light? If you finally stepped into your destiny not as a seeker, but as an embodiment? You are no longer being tested, you are being entrusted. With vision, with impact, with power. Because you are the dark chosen one who made it through. Because you are the code breaker who refused to forget. Because you are the quantum alchemist who will now turn pain into portals and loss into legacy. And the world has been waiting for you.